ready to rock and roll with some Pigskin Frenzy. I'm fired up. June is out the door. It is July 1st in the year of our Lord 2025. I am so excited because next month, the greatest sport on earth returns, and it's college football. We are so close to the 2025 college football season. I'm so excited. And today, we wrap up our conference standing projections. I'm fired up. We went over the group of five a few weeks back. We did the ACC. Then we did the Big 12 last Tuesday. Then this past Thursday, we did the Big 10. Now, today, June 1st, we are concluding everything with the SEC. 16 teams. 2 teams playing in Atlanta for the SEC championship, and then there's only one SEC champion for 2025. I'm so excited. We're going to give you our standings, our finishes. We're going to talk about it and discuss each and every team. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. I am Joel Norris. Whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, listening on Podbean, listening on Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by me. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple. All you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow, like the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, news and highlights from across college football, trivia questions, and exclusive content on Instagram stories and more on Pigskin Frenzy's Instagram and X. There is also the website www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. There you will find all things up to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Home and About Me page. Learn more about me as your podcast host. There is contact info down below. Name, email, and question. I'll answer it on air or off air if need be. There is also the platforms page. There you can go and click on what's your favorite listening style of the show. There is also store and affiliations. More on that coming soon as we continue to regularly update the website for Pigskin Frenzy. www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Here we go. We're going to conclude our conference standing projections today. We went through everything. We've been going through it for the past few weeks, and now we finally concluded with the SEC, and I am so excited to talk about the 16 teams. And I'm not going to lie, just like this past Thursday, I was thinking, okay, I got to move and maneuver some stuff around. As I was digging in and doing my homework on all teams and all the 16 teams, I was thinking to myself, you know what? I am honestly, kind of stuck a little bit. So I had to re-dive in, relearn, get to know everything with the rosters and the teams, and I did my deep dive with these 16 teams. I feel comfortable now to say everything's finalized. I got them in the right order. You're going to see the full list if you listen to half the episode or the bottom end and the tail end of the episode. Guys, you're just follow and plug in on X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy because I'm going to release the full list tomorrow, which is Wednesday. Guys, I'm so excited. 5,000 listeners and counting on this show, though, because why not? Why wouldn't you listen to the Pigskin Frenzy, man? Why would you not listen to this show? I'm so thankful for you guys, and most importantly, so thankful by our Lord and Jesus, our Savior, Lord and Jesus Christ. He is amazing. He bless me to give us the platform to talk about conference standing projections. I'm so thankful for him, and I'm so thankful for him blessing me with Pigskin Frenzy. We praise him and give him all the glory for this show. Guys, let's get down to it. Pigskin Frenzy, conference standing projections for the SEC, concluding our conference standing projections for 2025 season with the SEC, 16 through 1. Guys, I'm fired up. I'm ready to go. Here we go. 16. Kicking it off with number 16, Kentucky is number 16 on our list. Why is Kentucky number 16 on our list? You're thinking Mississippi State finished way worse last year. They didn't win a single conference game. Kentucky only won one. Yes, they were 1-7. I put them at 16 because I feel like the teams ahead of them are just a lot better, but also I feel like Mississippi State's in for it. And I feel like they're in for they can have a little bit of a surprise on their end. Zach Calzada is their quarterback. They lose Brock Vandagriff. He is gone. He retired from football. You have Zach Calzada, now graduate transfer from A&M, Auburn, and an incarnate word. He is now at Kentucky. Mark Stoops has a knack for getting those transfer quarterbacks, right? Then you get guys at the running back position like Dante Dowdell, Jamarian Wilcox, and Seth McGowan, and they're going to fight for carries on the running backs as well. So they got some underrated players on their offense. Their defense, usually solid. It slipped last year, but it could have a shot at rebounding. They hit the portal hard, Kentucky did. So Kentucky's got some solid players for the portal. I just don't know if it's going to be enough due to the schedule, and is it going to be enough to fight against the teams on their schedule. So number 16 is Kentucky. Here's who Kentucky has on their schedule. They open up against Toledo. I think that could be a win. That's 1-0. They play Ole Miss at home to kick off SEC play. Then they play Eastern Michigan. Then they play South Carolina, at Georgia, at home against Texas, at home against Tennessee. Look at that stretch. At South Carolina, at Georgia, at home against Texas, at home against Tennessee. Back-to-back on the road against South Carolina and Georgia. They go back home to play Texas and then Tennessee. That's a tough stretch right there. Then at Auburn versus Florida at home, Tennessee Tech, at Vanderbilt, at Louisville. Tough stretch there, tough schedule. I don't know if they have good weapons on their team, but are they well put together for that schedule? I just don't really think that they can. I'm not going to sit there and say that they can't do this, they can't do that, but the way they're put together, despite hitting the portal hard, despite having some solid pieces on offense, I don't know if they are well equipped yet to battle some of these teams on the field. So number 16 is Kentucky. Very tough schedule they got to overcome. I think Kentucky's number 16 due to that reason. I like Mark Stoops. I like some of the pieces that he's got, and he's been as really, a surprise in the portal during the 2025 season, but at the same time, going into the 2025 season, but at the same time, these teams are really, really well built. And I think that due to their schedule, I got to put them at 16 on our list. So Kentucky starts it off with number 16 on our list. Number 15 is Mississippi State. State, who didn't win a single conference game last year, is number 15 on your list ahead of Kentucky. And Kentucky's pretty well built. And I'm going to tell you why, because I think they have a shot at surprising some teams and slipping up on some teams this year. Blake Shapen most likely will be the starting quarterback. I would not be surprised, though, if we see a little bit of Kamario Taylor. You get guys like Aiden Williams on the receiving core. You get guys you get guys on the offensive line who are going to be, honestly, to me, the offensive line is going to be severely underrated. They need to gel more, I agree, but they are going to be severely underrated. Their defense is going to be a lot better. Their linebackers are a little bit more bolstered up as well. I'm not going to sit there and say they're going to, surprise and go on a run and win majority of their SEC games, but I will think they'll give a slip up on some teams here and there, which will put them at 15 on our list. They do have a tough schedule in Jeff Lebby's second season. It's all about timing, and Jeff Lebby is going to have one more season to put everything together, I think. I don't think it's going to be this year, but I think they'll finish a lot better than they did last year, at least in one spot. Mississippi State, they open up against Southern Miss in Hattiesburg. So they play Southern Miss at Southern Miss. They go back home and play Arizona State, go and then play Alcorn State at home, play Northern Illinois at home. They open up SEC play against Tennessee, at Texas A&M, at Florida, at home against Texas. Tough games there. At Arkansas versus Georgia, at Missouri, at home in the Egg Bowl against Ole Miss. Tough schedule for Mississippi State. I think that they are going to surprise some teams. They're going to be competitive in some games. I think that the way that they are built, though, I do not think they will finish higher than 15th. And that's okay, because a lot of these teams on their schedule are much more equipped and and they are in a lot better position than they are right now. So 15 for me is Mississippi State. I think their schedule's tough. I think they finish 15th, but I do think that they'll surprise some teams and give a little bit of a competitive edge to some of these teams this year. So number 15 is Mississippi State on our on our conference standing projections. Number 14 is Arkansas. I think Arkansas is a solid team roster-wise. I think their schedule is pretty tough, and I think that's why they will slip to Arkansas and slip to number 14. Here's what you got to remember about the SEC. You can lose 3 or 4 games, and you can fall to 10th. The conference is stacked. That's why I do the Big Ten and the SEC last, because those are the 2 top conferences in college football, and it's stacked. You lose a few games, you're 15th or 14th or even or 9th or whatever, right? If you lose a few games conference-wise, you slip. LSU against Texas A&M was 1, tied with Texas A&M, tied for first. They lost that game. They fell to 5th or 6th in the SEC. It's a stacked conference, very stacked conference, and that's why I'm ranking them by this, because maybe Arkansas goes 8-5. But they'll still fall to 14th because they've lost 5 games. It's all about winning and losing, and I think that Arkansas is a good team roster-wise. They got a good quarterback in Taylon Green. It's just who they're playing against, and it's tough. It really is. Arkansas is 14th on our list. I think that they have a solid quarterback with Taylon Green. There's a lot of pressure on him, I know, but I think he's going to be a lot better than he was last year. They started off they started off kind of slow, but they ended up with a 7-6 record in a bowl appearance, and they beat Texas Tech in a bowl game. So that was pretty good for Sam Pittman saving his job. It's a tough schedule, big roster overhaul, and you got to replace a lot of talent. So they have some talent, but you got to replace a lot of it coming into this 2025 season. I think defense is going to be key here for this team. I think he's going to be a lot better. Pittman hit the portal hard, so they got some guys from the portal, but is it going to be enough to overcome the tough schedule that they got? And that's why I put them at 14th. So if you look at Arkansas and who they got on their schedule, starting it off, they play Alabama A&M. They play Arkansas State in Little Rock. So both Alabama A&M, Arkansas State, they open up conference play at Ole Miss in September 13th at Ole Miss. They go to Memphis and play at Memphis, go back home and play Notre Dame. Then they continue their conference play at Tennessee, back home against Texas A&M, which is weird because it's at home against Texas A&M. This will be the first year in a long time where that game won't be in Arlington for a neutral site. It will be in home stadium. So at home against A&M, at home against Auburn, at home against State. That's a very comfortable thing for them. They're playing tough teams. Yes, tough outing, A&M, Auburn, and State. Here's the kicker there, though. They're playing in Fayetteville, so that's good for them. At LSU, at Texas. Look at that stretch. And then they play Mizzou to close out their season at home. At LSU and at Texas. That's back-to-back on the road, 2 tough games. Very tough. And that's going to be tough for them, I think. They got A&M. That's a tough one. They have Tennessee, a tough one there. At Ole Miss, another tough one. So they got a lot of their tough games on the road besides A&M. I think it's going to be tough for them. I put them at 14th due to their tough schedule, due to their roster overhaul. Despite Pittman hitting the portal hard, I think Arkansas will finish 14th because of the toughness of that schedule. So 14th for us on our conference standing projections is Arkansas. And I think Arkansas has some good players on their team, including Taylon Green. It's just that schedule, man. It's just that gauntlet of a schedule. I don't know if they can overcome it right now. 14th is Arkansas. Number 13th on our list is Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt was the surprise team last year. I picked them dead last year to finish 16th in the conference last year. They ended up going off, beating teams like Alabama, competing with LSU, competing with Texas, beating teams like Auburn, like Kentucky, competing against Missouri, beating Va-Tech. They ended up playing really, really good last year and playing some really, really good ball and ended up surprising a lot of teams. Going to a bowl, the Birmingham Bowl against Georgia Tech, and kind of blowing them out in the Birmingham Bowl as well. Vandy with Diego Pavia was a solid football team last year. They weren't playing around, and I still don't think this year they're going to play around. I think they're going to be a solid football team. I just think some of the teams that they're playing against are going to be a lot better, and I think they're going to be a little bit more. Let me just put it this way. They're going to be a lot more ready for them this year and not underestimate them this year, which I think I give the other teams a competitive advantage against. I think Vandy will be 13th, and I think they will compete because Diego Pavia, when he's playing and he's playing ball, he's going to compete. I love that about Clark Lee and Vanderbilt. I like this Vanderbilt team because they're going to be more competitive. And with Diego Pavia, you can't count out the Commodores. I will say this about Vandy. I think due to a little bit of losing some guys on their roster, I think that it's going to be a slight dip. But I think that 13th is a good record for them. They have Pavia back, and he is, he wasn't supposed to even be there coming up this season, but he got an extra year of eligibility after fighting the NCAA on it. So he's back. You get a revamped offensive line. That's a concern. Cedric Alexander back. And they have Junior Sherrill, Eli Stowers, also on the standout playmakers list for this offense. But you look at it, you look at the revamped offensive line, that's a concern. Or a little bit of a revamped defensive line, that's a concern. And you look at some things there that's like, ooh, you gotta fight a little bit there, and you gotta compete. But they need a little bit more to emerge, right, for this team. And that's why I put them at 13th, and that's why I think they're going to be a little bit more down than they were this past season. I think they're going to compete, but I think 13th is suffice for them due to some of the teams they're playing against on their schedule. Let's look at some of the teams they're playing against on their schedule. And Vandy, they open up against Charleston Southern. That's a win to me. They play at Va Tech, which is going to be a tough game there. At South Carolina to open up SEC play versus Georgia State, versus Utah State at home, at Alabama, going back home against LSU, back home against Missouri, at Texas, back home against Auburn, back home against Kentucky, and then at Tennessee. Tough games there, especially Alabama, at Alabama, and then going back and playing LSU. And LSU is completely, roster-wise, significantly a lot better. So it's like when you look at all that and you're like, ooh, that's tough. You got Bama, LSU, Missouri, then Texas. That's a tough stretch there. I don't know if they're going to be able to overcome that yet. We'll see. A lot of question marks, especially with their offensive line as well. More playmakers need to emerge, but Diego Pavia, you cannot count him out. Vanderbilt is 13 on our list because of that. So number 13 on our list is Vanderbilt. Is on our list. Number 12 on our list is Auburn. Number 12 on our list is Auburn. I think Auburn needs to win at least 8 games. At least 8. I'm not going to sit there and say go double digit, go to the SEC championship, go to the national championship. They need to win at least 8 to show some more significant improvement with Hugh Freeze being head coach for this team. They have a quarterback. They have quarterbacks, actually. I mean, if you want to, they got Jackson Arnold coming in from Oklahoma. They have Ashton Daniels coming in from Stanford, and they picked up Deuce Knight from recruiting. So that they got 3 solid quarterbacks. Deuce Knight's the feature of this program, but you got 2 quarterbacks ready now who could probably give them an edge with Jackson Arnold. And if Arnold doesn't pan out, really, you get Ashton Daniels as a backup. So that's pretty significant for this Auburn team. You got Cam Coleman at wide receiver for this team as well, a huge playmaker there. You picked up Eric Singleton in the portal at wide receiver. So you pick up some good playmakers from the transfer portal, and especially on the defensive side of the ball as well. So you get a little bit better. Question is offensive line. Do you get a little bit better at offensive line? Can you bolster up that low line? And that's the big concern for Auburn here. But they're getting more and more talent coming in. People are starting to buy in a little bit to Auburn. So it's really a matter of can you coach and win 8 to 9 games at least. I'm not sitting there and saying that they're going to be better roster-wise than a lot of the teams in the SEC right now, but I will say that Auburn needs to win at least 8 this year to simmer down a little bit of the talk on Hugh Freeze. Because if he doesn't win 8 to 9 games, at least 8 games, and he wins at least 7, or he doesn't even go to a bowl game, I think there is questions going into the 4th season because I think they're going to keep Hugh Freeze. I would think they should. There's going to be questions going into Hugh Freeze going into his 4th year next year. So we'll see about that. Who they got on their schedule? They play Baylor to open up. Baylor, tough out-of-conference game at Waco. Then they go back home and play Ball State. They play South Alabama at home. They open up SEC play at Oklahoma. Tough SEC opener there. At Texas A&M. And then at home against Georgia. That's a tough 3-game stretch. At Oklahoma. They play at Oklahoma. Then they play at A&M. Back home against Georgia. Tough 3-game stretch for the Auburn Tigers. Then at home against Missouri. At Arkansas. At home against Kentucky. At Vanderbilt versus Mercer. The Iron Bowl against Alabama. At home, which is good for them. So that's a tough schedule, tough outing. They got the talent to beat some of these teams, I believe, and surprise some of these teams, which I think they will. And they're going to have to, I think. I think they're going to have to with the schedule. I think that they do in some games. I think they don't in some games. That's why I put them at 12th. I think they're gonna lose some of these games because I think that roster-wise, some of these teams are better. I think 12th is suffice for Auburn. I think they will pull some surprises, and they will fall and finish at 12th and kind of just dip a little bit at 12th. So number 12 on our SEC conference standing projections, number 12 is Auburn. I just think that that's the best area I could give them and the best finish I can give Auburn currently right now. So number 12 on our list is Auburn. How about number 11? Number 11 on our conference standing projections, and we are flying through our conference standing projections here. Number 11 on our list is Missouri. Guys, keep plugging in, by the way, to Pigskin Frenzy. 5,000 listeners and counting. Keep plugging in, follow, and subscribe on all platforms. YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, and Apple, Amazon, all platforms for Pigskin Frenzy. Number 11 is Missouri. They lose Brady Cook. They lose Luther Burden. But here are some playmakers that they do gain. They gain Bo Pribula from Penn State coming in, who most likely will be the starting quarterback for this team. And you also for Missouri, you get a guy in the name of Ahmad Hardy. All right, Ahmad Hardy is should be one of the most standout running backs in the conference, and I will say that. I think, to me, he's going to get his yards. Number 11 is Mizzou. I think Ahmad Hardy can win them some ball games on the ground because he is a solid running back. Did you see what he did in his freshman year at Louisiana Monroe? Man, oh man, in the Sun Belt, he was a lethal weapon for the Warhawks. I think he's going to be a lethal weapon for Mizzou. With Eli Drinkwitz, they struck gold picking up Ahmad Hardy. He is top 10 in our running backs, in our best running backs entering college football season for the 2025 year. He is number 7 on our list. He was a solid back. He's still a solid back. I think he's going to be a standout in the SEC, and he's going to give them some. I think going to give them some, and Bo Pribula as well. He's going to give him some relief because Bo Pribula can run the football. He's going to give him some relief on the ground as well. So Bo Pribula can focus more on throwing the ball. If he can, and that's the question that I got for Bo Pribula. Can he throw the ball? Because he is a solid running quarterback, but can he also throw the ball? Can he pass the ball consistently? And if he struggles to do that, you got Sam Horn, junior quarterback, waiting in the wings as a backup. So you have a quarterback room. You got a running back. You also have Mississippi State transfer Kevin Coleman. Kevin Coleman coming in at wide receiver, replacing Theo Weiss and Luther Burden. I think you have to lean on their defense a little bit more because you're replacing some key guys on their offense. Their defense, they returned 7 starters, which is a very good news for the Mizzou Tigers here. You get guys from the portal as well, and they did really, really good in the portal. Eli Drinkwitz did. You get Damon Wilson, the second from Georgia, edge rusher there, Josiah Trotter, and Jalen Catalan. You get some guys like Tristan Newson and tackle Chris McKellen as well coming in from the portal as well. So you get some guys from the portal on defense as well as returning 7 guys on your unit as well. So defensively, Mizzou looks good. It's their offense that's what's going to be the big concern. I put them at 11 because I think some of their teams on their schedule are tough. And can they consistently on offense find their footing? That's the best way to go about it. That's why I put them at 11. Can they, on their footing, can their offense find their footing? Because if they do, watch out. If they kind of are mixed and hot and cold, I don't know how well it's going to bode for them. Thursday, August 28th, they open up their season against Central Arkansas at home. They play Kansas at home in the KU-MU rivalry. They play Louisiana the Raging Cajuns at home. They open up SEC play at home against South Carolina. They play Massachusetts at home. They play Bama at home. They do not have their first away game until October 18th. October 18th is their first away game, so that's very good news for Mizzou. They play all their games at home up until October 18th. That's almost midway through the season, so they get a lot of their games, out of home games out of the way, really. At Auburn, at Vanderbilt, back home against Texas A&M, back home against State, at Oklahoma, at Arkansas. So a lot of their tougher games are at home, which is good news, but can they get into a rhythm offensively? I put them at 11th because they do have some tough games on their schedule. Luckily, they're at home, but still tough games, right? Tough games at OU, and then they got to play A&M, Bama at home. Then they got to go to Auburn, and Auburn gave them a run for their money last year. So let's see what happens there. I put them at 11. I think 11 is a good one for them. They're replacing a lot, but watch out for Ahmad Hardy. Ahmad Hardy for Mizzou can be a really, really good running back in the SEC and a good running back for Mizzou. So number 11 is Missouri on our conference standing projections list in the SEC. Number 10, as we enter the top 10 now, number 10 is Tennessee. I think Tennessee, due to returning production, is number 10, and they finish at number 10. Because if you lose at least 3 to 4 games, where are you at? Number 10, right? So, and I think that's a really good place to put Tennessee at this point in time due to uncertainties at quarterback. You get Joey Aguilar there. You also, for Tennessee, excuse me, if you look at Tennessee, you get Joey Aguilar there. You get Jake. You get Jake there at quarterback. You also get, George McIntyre. He could be one there as well. I think running backs, you get Dylan Sampson. You lose him, but you also got Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis there. I think Star Thomas could be a good running back option for them. I think Joey Aguilar is probably going to be the starting quarterback because he's got the most experience, and I think that he will most likely be the starting quarterback for this team. I would think. I like Jake and I like George McIntyre as well, but I think Joey Aguilar is probably going to be the best option for them at quarterback starting out. But yet again, you replace a little bit of guys and replace a little bit of returning production there. You lose some guys on the defensive side of things, but you also get Jermod McCoy, who most likely will return in the back, probably around mid-season, maybe, returning off of his ACL because he suffered an ACL tear in December. Boo Carter is at safety. You get Joshua Josephs and Bryson Eason returning as well. A lot of guys who are coming back on defense besides James Pierce are coming back for this defense. So I think defensively, they're going to be a solid threat, probably one of the best in the SEC. But if you look overall at who they're playing on their schedule, returning production on offense, that's going to be a key thing there. Quarterback and running back wise, that's a key thing there. I think offense is more of a question than their defense. I think defensively they're going to be solid. Not worried about their defense. I think they're going to be one of the best in the SEC again. I think offense is the key here. Now, if you look at who they're playing, that's why I worry about their offense a little bit. They play Syracuse, opening it up in Atlanta. Back home, open their home opener against East Tennessee State, ETSU. They open up SEC play against Georgia at home. Tough opener there. They play UAB at home. Their first true road game at Mississippi State. Back home against Arkansas. At Alabama for the third Saturday in October. At Kentucky. Back home against Oklahoma. Back home against New Mexico State. At Florida. Back home against Vanderbilt. I think Florida could give them a run for their money because I think Florida's going to be a lot better this year. Oklahoma, Alabama can give them a run for their money as well. And Georgia is going to give them a run for their money, which could honestly be 3 to 4 losses, which can drop them to 10th in the SEC. It's a stacked conference. I think 10th is suffice. I think questions on offense are getting me a little bit of a concern there. I think 10th is suffice for Tennessee until they answer who's going to step up on the offensive side of things. Defense is going to be fine. Who steps up on the offensive side of things? I think I cannot pick them against a few games, against a few teams on their schedule. So number 10 is Tennessee on our list. Number 10 is Tennessee on our list. I just question a little bit of their pieces on offense right now. But number 10 is Tennessee. I think their defense is solid, and I think that's a good place to put them right now. Number 9 on our list is Ole Miss. Number 9 is Ole Miss on our list. That's pretty low from last year. You put Ole Miss a lot higher last year. I sure did. Ole Miss is losing a lot of talent, and I think that is the big key reason why I would put them at number 9. I think Austin Simmons is going to be a solid quarterback for Lane Kiffin in this offense. I think that Caden Lee is going to be a solid receiver for this team, and he'll be the go-to guy for this team. I think that they have some solid additions at running back as well. If you look, if you look at the running back spot, you get Logan Diggs at running back. You get their defense is going to have to replace a lot as well. I think that you get Deshaun Womack back coming in from the portal. Prince Will Yimanalan is also in the portal. You get TJ Daughtry and Santarane Perkins as well. You have a lot of guys on defense coming back. It's going to be a little bit more elevated. Besides the guys in the portal, there's only 2 true starters that are back on defense for this team. So you're losing a lot on defense. You're losing a lot of key pieces on offense as well. You got to rebuild the offensive line, which is tough. But I think Austin Simmons is a good enough quarterback to keep them in games and to compete in games, which is why I put them at number 9. I think they're going to be really, really solid in games and compete. I just don't think they're going to be better than some teams. I think Austin Simmons is a good quarterback to bring them in games. But I think that when it comes to rebuilding the team and getting some more talent in, it's going to be a little bit tough to compete against some of these teams ahead of them. So number 9 is Ole Miss. Let's look at their schedule, and let's talk about Ole Miss a little bit. Their schedule, number 1, Georgia State at home. They open up against Georgia State. They open up SEC play against Kentucky, at home against Arkansas, at home against Tulane, at home against LSU, at home against Washington State. So they get a good home stretch there. At Georgia, at Oklahoma, at home against South Carolina. Tough 3 weeks there, if you want to think about it. If you disinclude Washington State, at home against LSU, at Georgia, at Oklahoma, at home against South Carolina. That's a tough schedule, especially when you're rebuilding an offensive line, rebuilding a defense, and then you got a few pieces there on the offensive line that are still going. At home against the Citadel, at home against Florida, at Mississippi State. I think they will compete in some of these games. I just don't know if they are better roster-wise than some of these teams yet. OU, LSU, South Carolina be included. We'll have to see at Georgia as well. That's going to be tough. So let's see what happens there. I think Ole Miss is number 9. I think this is the best place I can give them right now. They're just rebuilding. Tough schedule as well, and they're rebuilding a lot. So number 9 for us is Ole Miss on our standings. So number 9 is Ole Miss. Number 8 in our conference standing projections as well. Number 8 is Florida. Florida is number 8. They finished strong last year, and no one expected them to finish that strong. But the emergence of DJ Lagway at quarterback is second to none. He's going to be a solid quarterback in the SEC. I just know it. He's talented, and you get guys like Mizell Williams back at the I'm sorry. Excuse me. You get guys for Florida. You get guys like at receiver. You get guys like Williams Mizell at receiver. UJ Wilson III is back after missing the 2024 season. Elijah Badger is back as well. You get a deep receiver room. Jaden Baugh for running back, Jaden Baugh for running back. That's going to be a solid addition there at the running back. I think, to me, if you want to slow down for me, Joel, and you're thinking you're talking too fast, let's just go piece by piece. Big reason for excitement, DJ Lagway. One of the most developed quarterbacks in the back half of the season. He'll be even more developed this year. You get guys like Jaden Baugh back at running back. He's a veteran running back. Eugene Wilson is back. You get Mizell back at receiver. You get Elijah Badger at receiver as well. Elijah Badger gone and Dyke are gone, but you get Mizell back. You also get, you also get Eugene Wilson back as well. You get, on the defensive side of things, five starters back. You get Tyreek Sapp, Caleb Banks, and Grayson Howard all back. For defense, I think those are going to be some solid additions there. So Florida is looking good on both sides of the ball because they're bringing some guys back. I think they're number 8 because of some of their teams on their schedule. Are they better than some of the teams on their schedule? That's the real thing there. Can they outcoach? Can Billy Napier outcoach some of these teams on his schedule? That's a big key there for Florida. I put them in number 8 because I think they will compete and they will win some ball games in the SEC. I really do. I think there's a reason for excitement for Florida due to how well they're recruited, how well they're doing good in the portal, and DJ Lagway being a solid quarterback for this team. He's one of the best in the SEC, in my opinion, going into this season. Opening it up, they play a night game against LIU. They play South Florida at home. They open up their SEC play at LSU, at Miami, at home against Texas. Tough 3-game stretch there. Which is going to be hard to compete against. At Texas A&M, at home against Mississippi State, at Georgia, at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, versus Tennessee, at home against Tennessee, and then at home against Florida State. Look at the 3-game stretch. At LSU, at Miami, versus Texas. And then they play at Texas A&M. That's a tough 4-game stretch. Then they play at Georgia, at Kentucky, at Ole Miss, another tough 3-game stretch. I think Florida's got one of the toughest schedules in the conference, and probably in college football. It's going to be tough for them. I put them at number 8 because I think they got the talent to compete and win some of these ball games. I really, really do. Florida, number 8, wouldn't shock me. I think they lose a couple, which will dip them to number 8. And I think that's suffice for them because I think they will win some of these ball games. Number 8 is Florida. I really like how they are built, especially going into this season. A lot of confidence and a lot of swagger for Billy Napier's team and a lot of excitement around Gainesville. So number 8 is Florida on our list. Number 7 on our list is Oklahoma. Dun, 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 dun. Boomer Sooner. You hear the song, the fight song playing. Oklahoma is number 7, and you're thinking they finished pretty low last year. Yeah, they did. But I think they got a lot better talent. They got an offensive coordinator in Ben Arbuckle, who's going to be a solid addition coaching-wise for them. I think Jim Nagy was probably the best season hire for them. I think he's the best season hire for them. I think what Oklahoma is building offensively and on defense is second to none. I think they're a wild card in the SEC and a wild card in the playoff. I really do. John Mateer coming in at quarterback is going to be one of the best moves they can have, along with Jaden Ott at running back coming in from Cal, rebuilding the line. You get Deion Burks back from injury at receiver. Some guys on defense are going to be solid. Brent Venables calling the plays on defense. He's a solid defensive play caller. And they led last year in fumbles in the SEC on defense. And I think that's going to be a huge addition for Oklahoma coming in defensively, and I think they're going to be a solid team this year. I really do. A lot of standings have them winning 7 games, right? I really don't have them winning 7 games. I have them winning more than 7 games. I think they're a solid team. I think they can win at least 10 games. I really do. Number 7 on our list is Oklahoma. They play Illinois State to open up their season. At home against Michigan. At Temple. At home against Auburn to open up SEC play. At home against Kent State. The Red River rivalry in Dallas against Texas, at South Carolina, at home against Ole Miss, at Tennessee, at Alabama, versus Missouri. They end their season on November 29th at home against LSU. So some tough games on their schedule, which they could lose. They could lose, but I could see them flipping those games and winning. They got a lot of toss-up games. Before Jim Nagy came in, you were doubting Oklahoma, and I was even doubting Oklahoma. I was saying they got to finish really, really well in recruiting. And then all of a sudden, Jim Nagy comes in and transforms this whole program. And the game has changed like that within Norman. I think that they're 7 because the talent, they get John Mateer, Ben Arbuckle, and Jaden Ott. Those are some solid pieces on their offense. And then they bring back some of their guys on defense. They get Deion Burks back from injury at receiver. I think they're going to have a good connection with Mateer and Burks. Mateer can also run the ball as well to save some win for Jaden Ott. I think this offense is going to be solid. Watch out for them. Washington State's offense was good, solid last year. They're bringing some of that solid offensive playmaking ability to OU. Watch out for OU. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. Number 7 is Oklahoma. I think they lose some games, but I think they're going to flip some games and win them because I think they're that talented. Number 7 is Oklahoma, finishing in our conference standing projections. I got them there because I think they will end up eventually dropping some games, but they're going to be solid enough to finish at least in the top 10. So number 7 is Oklahoma on our conference standing projections list. I'm really high on Oklahoma. They're a wild card, so watch out. I could be dead wrong about Oklahoma. Number 6 on our list is Texas A&M. Number 6 is Texas A&M. They have the most deep wide receiver room in the SEC. I still wholeheartedly believe that. They get Marcel Reed coming in for Texas A&M. I'm excited to see what A&M does, honestly. I think that Marcel Reed could be one of the best quarterbacks in the conference. I think the development of him is key, at least when it comes to throwing the ball. He can run the ball. He's a speedster, but he needs to throw the ball a lot better besides just a few plays. Throwing the ball as in short passes and medium passes, not just deep balls, because he can throw a deep ball. I think the depth of the offensive line is a question. They get guys like Le'Veon Moss and Reuben Owens back in the backfield, which is solid. They got a deep running back room, a deep receiver room. It should be one of the best in college football. I think the starters for them are going to be good. They get Kevin Concepcion from NC State and Mario Craver from Mississippi State at receiving core, which is going to be a deep receiving core. They get amongst the best offensive line group in college football back. 5 starters coming back on the O-line. I think the question about it on defensively and offensively is the depth. And that's the big thing about it, the depth on both sides of the ball. I think depth is the concern for me. Do they have the depth to compete with some of these teams? I think 6 is suffice because I thought they did really, really well last year, and I think they're going to do really, really well again this year. Number 6 is Texas A&M on our list. Who do they have on their schedule? UTSA to open up at home. They play Utah State at home, so both out-of-conference games there. At Notre Dame in week 3, at Notre Dame in South Bend. They go back home and play Auburn after a bye week, at home against Auburn to open up conference play. They play Mississippi State at home. They play Florida at home, at Arkansas, at LSU, at Missouri, and then at home against South Carolina. Tough 4-game stretch there. Then they play Samford at home and then at Texas on Black Friday. So that's a tough schedule there. I think due to the depth issues, they drop a couple and they fall to number 6, but I think they will have a good season, and I think 6 right there, to me, is a little bit better than where they finished last year. I really do. Mike Elko is going to have a better season than I think this year than what most people think, and they're still on the rise a little bit. Still on the rise. Still got to get a little bit more depth-wise in there, but they're bringing in talent left after right. They're a talented football team. Don't count out Texas A&M. I just think the depth between this team is something that needs to be a concern a little bit. That's what I would watch out for. But number 6 is Texas A&M. Number 5 on our conference standing projections list for the SEC, number 5 is South Carolina. And South Carolina is a solid football team. I am really high on Lenore Sellers, one of the best in the SEC at quarterback. Big reason why South Carolina could probably make the playoff and be underrated and could win at least 9 to 10 games this year. One of the best in quarterbacks in college football. Can he develop as a passer, as a better passer? Can he develop as a passer? He can run the ball like it's nobody's business. He's a beast on the ground. Can he pass the ball a little bit better? I think him, improving in the throwing game, especially with Mike Shula, as the new coordinator there, coming back in, and just Mike Shula helping him out during the throwing, right? And Mike Shula helping him out throwing the ball. I think that is key there for this team. Mike Shula helping him develop as a thrower with Nick Harbor coming back, Jared Brown and Mazeo Bennett also providing support there. I think those things there, because they have some talented guys like Mazeo Bennett, like Nick Harbor, like Jared Brown, some solid playmakers there for at the receiving end. You get 3 good receivers there for Lenore Sellers to throw to. And if he throws the ball to them at a consistent level, then Lenore Sellers on the ground and throwing the ball is a problem for defenses in the SEC and in college football. Yeah, they have to interior-wise, they got to identify 3 new starters on the offensive line, but they bring back 2 starters there. I think the defense is one of the best in college football and in the SEC. Dylan Stewart is a freaking menace. Dylan Stewart on the edge is going to be solid. Kyle Kennard is gone, but you also got to rebuild a little bit of that defensive line, which is going to be a task, but at the same time, they do have the depth on the defensive line to be a lot better. I think that Dylan Stewart's going to lead, and I think he's going to be a solid playmaker for this defense as well. I think South Carolina's going to be just fine. I think they bring a lot of guys back in the secondary as well, which is going to help them also. So they got good running backs. They got a solid quarterback with Lenore Sellers, 3 solid receivers coming back for them as well. They throw the ball a lot better. Defenses are in trouble, I think, and I think South Carolina's offense can lean off that. I think they're going to be 5th in the SEC because of some of the teams on their schedule that they could lose to, which could drop them to number 5 on our standings at least. Number 5, South Carolina. Let's look at their schedule. Opening up against Vatech, neutral site in Atlanta, back home against South Carolina State, back home against Vanderbilt to open up SEC play, at Missouri, back home against Kentucky, at LSU, at home against Oklahoma, at home against Alabama, at Ole Miss. Tough 4-game stretch there. At LSU versus Oklahoma versus Alabama at Ole Miss. Tough 4-game stretch there. Then you have at Texas A&M, so make it a 5-game stretch that's tough. At A&M versus Coastal Carolina versus Clemson to end their season. At home against Clemson to end their season. Tough schedule. Do they have the team and can they get the depth and the pieces together to combat and win some of those key games that they need to win? Like in LSU, like in Alabama, like in OU, like in Ole Miss, like in Texas A&M. Can they win some of those key games? They probably can. I think I favor them against Ole Miss. I favor them against Vanderbilt. LSU, Bama, A&M, and OU are toss-ups, but we will see how it goes. I think they have a tough schedule, but they have the team and the offense with Lenore Sellers and some of those 3 good solid receivers to lean off of to counter that and could end up surprising some teams and winning 9 to 10 games. Let's see how it goes. I think South Carolina is going to be a solid team this year. Watch out for the Gamecocks and Shane Beamer. It's Beamer ball up in Columbia. Number 5 is South Carolina on our SEC conference standing projections list. Number 4 is the team that I just mentioned on their schedule. Top 4 is tough because I've been going back and forth on the top 4. Number 4 is Alabama on our conference standing projections. Number 4 is Alabama. Kalen DeBoer entering his 2nd season as Alabama's head coach, replacing the greatest of all time, Nick Saban. And they had last season their first single-digit win season since, 17, 18 years since Nick Saban became head coach there in 2007. I was 7 years old when that happened, and that's a long time ago. I've never seen that in my lifetime. During the whole time, besides when I was 7 years old, that's when I started watching football, I have not seen a single-digit wins Alabama team ever, really. So last year was the first time. They have the team to win 10-plus games this year. They really do. I think the question that I got is quarterback. Who's going to be their starting quarterback? Can Ty Simpson carry the load? Can Ty Simpson carry the load, or is it Keelan Russell, or is it Austin Mack? That's the 3 things there. They replaced Jalen Milroe at quarterback. Is Ty Simpson, is he the true guy for this offense? You get Ryan Williams at wide receiver, which is going to be solid for this team. How about for Alabama. For the defensive side of things, you get Deontay Lawson back, Damani Jackson back, Keon Sabb back. You get Tim Keenan at defensive line back, a solid defensive line there. Caden Proctor back as well. One of the best offensive lines there. I mean, in college football, not just in the SEC, but in college football, they have one of the best offensive line units in college football. Their production, they return a lot of guys. So to me, it's not a matter of can they compete for the SEC. They can compete for the SEC championship. The only big question, because they have a solid running back room, a solid receiving room led by Ryan Williams, is the quarterback spot. The quarterbacks are the only thing that concerns me about the Alabama team and that's why I put them at number 4, because I think quarterbacks is the concern right now. They get Ryan Grubb as the OSC coming in there. The play calling is going to be a lot more dynamic. The defense is going to be a lot more dynamic, especially in the secondary. Keon Sabb and Damani Jackson are going to be solid in the secondary. Tim Keenan there on the defensive line on the interior. Offensive line with Caden Proctor and Parker Brailsford. Solid offensive line. They have some dogs on that team, a loaded roster. It's just the quarterbacks for me. Who is going to be the dynamic quarterback and who is going to replace Jalen Milroe? And can it be really, can he lead that quarterback, lead them to help compete for an SEC title? I think they will compete for the SEC title, but are they better than 3 teams ahead of them? Are they better than key? I think there are 3 teams ahead of them that could be better than them, and that's what puts them at 4. I think on their schedule, because they're loaded, and I would not be surprised. Headline here, won't be surprised if Alabama competes for an SEC championship or even winds up in Atlanta, and I get my number 4 standing wrong. Won't be surprised. But will they do it? Quarterback is the biggest concern, and that's what I'm going by right now. They open up their season at Florida State, at home against UNLM, at home against Wisconsin. They open up SEC play on the road at Georgia. That's going to be a tough game, but due to their track record, they're favored because, I mean, Georgia seems to not do well against Alabama for some reason. So at Georgia, back home against Vanderbilt in the rematch, a big rematch there after Vanderbilt upset them last year. At Missouri, back home against Tennessee, at South Carolina, back home against LSU, back home against Oklahoma, back home against Eastern Illinois, and then at Auburn in the Iron Bowl. So some toss-up games there that could flip it to where they lose and go to the number 4. Quarterback play is the concern. I got them at number 4 due to that reason. I think this team's loaded, and I think they will compete for an SEC title, but I think they finish at 4 just outside the top 3. So number 4 on our list is Alabama due to some concerns and some uncertainty at the quarterback position. That's my thing. I think their team's loaded, and I think if they get the quarterback things figured out, if Ty Simpson becomes an explosive quarterback for this team, I think Bama will most likely could be in Atlanta. Just saying. They're a loaded team, and I would not be surprised one bit. Number 4 is Alabama on our conference standing projections list. They will win 10-plus games, in my opinion. Number 3, 2-1. The top 3 on our list for the SEC conference standing projections. You're going to be shocked by who's 3, 2-1. Probably not 1, but 3 and 2. Number 3 on our list is Georgia. Number 3 on our list is Georgia. Are you serious at number 2? Let me finish and let me explain on everything. Please let me explain. All right, I'm getting excited. Number 3 is Georgia. I am getting a sense for me, because Georgia, roster-wise, just like Alabama, is loaded on both sides of the football. Depth-wise, they're amazing. Gunnar Stockton's development is the key crucial point here. I think he's developing quite nicely. I just think that development is key. Receivers are also key. They get Zachariah Branch from the portal, which is solid. And they get guys from a rushing attack like Nate Frazier. And I think Nate Frazier is going to be probably one of the best running backs in the SEC and in college football. Solid running back there. You get Noah Thomas from Texas A&M and Zachariah Branch. And Colby Young is back as well at receiving. I think defensively, you get one of the best defenses in college football, and probably a deep linebacker unit when it comes to C.J. Allen and Raylan Wilson. Christian Miller and Jordan Hall on the defensive line. You get solid guys there. Glenn Schumann, he's going to have to navigate some of the turnover there. But I think due to the depth that they have on their team, defensively, Georgia is going to be sick once again. I think due to some of the teams that they got on their schedule, I think the question mark is Alabama, Texas, and could they slip in a surprise game? Like a Tennessee, like a Florida. Could they slip? I think they have the roster to go to the SEC championship and win the SEC championship. I am not doubting Georgia at all. But here's the reason why I put them at 3. Because I think they do have some question marks in the secondary a little bit. But other than that, depth-wise, roster-wise, they're loaded, and they have a shot and most likely will be in the college football playoff once again. I'm not saying that. Georgia will be in the college football playoff, hands down. I think they will be. Even if they finish at number 3 in the SEC standing projections, they have the roster. The questions are, the teams on their schedule, Georgia, Tennessee, Florida. I think Texas is also one of them. Here is who they have on their schedule. Kentucky, Marshall is who they open up against. They open up against Marshall. Then they play, Marshall, Austin Peay at home. They open up SEC play against Tennessee. They play Alabama after a bye week at home. At Tennessee, bye week, at home against Alabama, at home against Kentucky, at Auburn versus Ole Miss, at home against Ole Miss, Jacksonville, neutral site against Florida, at Mississippi State, at home against Texas, home against Charlotte, and then Georgia Tech at Georgia Tech on Black Friday. So if you look at everything and you look at their schedule, there are some question marks on their schedule, yes, but SEC-wise, you get Texas, Florida, Tennessee, and Alabama. I think those are the question marks, especially Alabama and Texas. I think Texas, I give them more of an advantage against Texas than Alabama because they have Texas's number, it seems. Alabama, it seems like they need to overcome that hump, and I don't know if I can necessarily think they can overcome that hump. Here's the reason why I picked Georgia over Alabama. I think Alabama loses a little bit more than Georgia, and that's why I put Georgia ahead of Alabama in the standings. I put them at number 3 because of those question marks, but I think Georgia is a solid roster. They will make the college football playoff, but I think they will finish right outside of going to Atlanta. Number 3 is Georgia on our list. Loaded roster, will go to the conference championship, will go to the college football playoff. I think they finish right outside to go into the SEC championship. Number 3 is Georgia. Question marks are those certain games, and can they get over the hump over in those certain games? So number 3 is Georgia on our conference standing projections list. That is my explanation about Georgia. Number 2 is LSU. What are you talking about? Brian Kelly this, Brian Kelly that. I don't trust Brian Kelly. I don't trust them. I don't like Brian Kelly. All that stuff. I hear all that. Excuse me, my mic's flying everywhere. I hear everything that y'all are saying. I really do. But that roster is built to go to Atlanta. LSU, to me, is built to go to Atlanta. And I think they can go to Atlanta. They just got to overcome the hump of primetime games. They can beat everybody else, but in primetime, against Alabama, against Texas A&M, against an Ole Miss, can Garrett Nussmeier in big-time games, and he will prove it week 1 against Clemson. Can he prove it against Clemson in week 1? Can he overcome the hump of primetime games and help them win and play well in big-time games? Garrett Nussmeier is the key of all of this because he has to play well in the primetime games, because if he doesn't, it's all crap's just going to hit the fan. And then everything that's going to happen is just hoopla at this point. They have one of the best rosters in the land of the SEC and in college football. That portal was epic. Loaded portal class, loaded group of returnees. A lot of guys are back. That's why I compare them to Ohio State. Because remember when I said Ohio State could win the national championship and probably will win the national championship right after Michigan hoisted their trophy up, because they loaded up through the portal and loaded up with a lot of guys who were coming back coming back for their senior year. Loaded up. LSU's doing the same thing Ohio State did. Loading up in the portal, buying into what Brian Kelly's doing. They spent a little NIL money, and the seniors are coming back. Linebackers, Whit Weeks, Harold Perkins back at linebacker, deep linebacker room. On the edge, you get Patrick Payton. You get Jack Washburn there. On the secondary, you get DJ Pickett coming in as a true freshman who's going to be a beast. You get Mansour Delane there at the cornerback spot. At the receiving end for the offense, you get Josh Thomas coming back at the receiving end. You get Frazier coming back at quarterback. You got Garrett Nussmeier. You got Caden Durham. You got at the running back spot. You have at the receiving spot Zachariah Branch, Nick Anderson from Kentucky. Excuse me. Not Zachariah Branch, Barry and Brown from Kentucky, Nick Anderson from Oklahoma. You have guys like Chris Hilton, Aaron Anderson, Xavier Thomas. You have guys like Bernard Gooden from South Florida, Mansour Delane, AJ Halsey from Houston at safety. You got a loaded transfer class, loaded guys who are coming back. Jack Pyburn coming back on the edge, coming back from Florida, transferring in from Florida on the edge. Jack Pyburn, Patrick Payton. There's a loaded team for LSU. Here are the questions. Can Garrett Nussmeier compete in big-time games? Primetime games. That's number one. If he does, and he loads up and goes off, then he has a shot at probably winning the Heisman Trophy, because he is a playmaker in other games. When he's playing in other games, he can throw for 340-something yards and 4 or 5 touchdowns. He's that good. He just has to do it in bigger time games to help lead this team to Atlanta into the college football playoff. That's number one. Number two, can they lean on the running game? That's a big thing there. Can Caden Durham get the running game going? Can they lean on the running game? Blake Baker, getting paid a lot of money, did really well on defense last year, but he has the team this year on defense to do even better this year. Loaded defense, loaded talent, coaches are there. Can they do it? That's the big question. They got to rely on the running game, a balanced offensive attack, a solid defensive attack with the players that you got. And the number one crucial thing, can Brian Kelly outcoach and win these games? And can they win their opener? There's a bunch of questions for LSU, but I'm putting him at number two because despite losing an opener, I think they have the talent to beat a lot of these teams in the SEC. I really do. I'm high on this LSU team. Who do they have on their schedule? Number one, Clemson. Got to win that one. They haven't won an opener since 2019 when Joe Burrow was there. That's tough. Number one, Clemson. At Clemson, back home against Louisiana Tech, back home, and then against Florida to open up SEC play. Southeastern Louisiana at home, at Ole Miss, back home against South Carolina, at Vanderbilt, back home against Texas A&M, at Alabama, back home against Arkansas versus Western Kentucky, and then at Oklahoma to end their season. Tough schedule, but they have the roster to compete and beat these teams. They really do. It's can Brian Kelly coach and outcoach these games, and can they rely on a balanced offensive attack and defensively, or can they be put together for Blake Baker? That is the big concern there. Roster-wise, they're good. I put them at number two because I would like to have a little bit more faith in LSU. So I'm going to put them at number two and making it to Atlanta. Number two is LSU. They make it to the SEC championship and possibly make it to the college ball playoff because they're going to have to for Brian Kelly's sake, because it is a make-it-or-break-it year for Brian Kelly and LSU. So number two is LSU. Number one in our conference standing projections list is Texas. Texas is loaded. Number one recruiting class, solid transfer class. Arch Manning most likely will be the truth. And I believe in Arch Manning. We haven't seen him play a whole lot. He's only started 2 games. But I think against Ohio State, he could be a solid playmaker for this team and be a solid quarterback as time goes on. They have room to where they can slip. Georgia could be one of those games where they can slip as well. So let's see what happens. I think roster-wise, they're loaded. They get Ryan Wingo at receiver, C.J. Baxter back at running back. They have a solid offensive line. Defensively is the question. Linebackers is the question as well, but specifically linebackers. But defensively, they're loaded. They have probably more depth than most in the SEC, and I think roster-wise, Texas is probably going to be the best in the SEC and in college football. I think they enter preseason number 1 because I think Texas is a solid football team, solid coaching staff, and they're going to be ready and locked and loaded entering week 1. Here's their schedule. Excuse me. Here's their schedule. Number 1, they play Ohio State. They play Ohio State at Ohio State. They play San Jose State at home. Then they play UTEP at home. Sam Houston at home. At Florida to open up SEC play. At Florida. Tricky game there. Red River rivalry against Oklahoma. Tricky game there. At Kentucky. At Mississippi State versus Vanderbilt. At Georgia. Their tough game there. At home against Arkansas. And another tricky game. Last but not least, Black Friday, Texas A&M. Can Arch Manning and his development, can he lose a couple of these games? Absolutely he can. For sure. He's still, this is his first full season starting. Of course he can lose some of these games. But it's going to be tough because I think those roster is good. He's got a solid offensive line. And I think as the games go on, Arch Manning will just get better and better and better. At Georgia is going to be a tough one. I do not favor them against Georgia. And I think Texas A&M is going to be tough, and OU is going to be tough. Florida is their tricky game, I believe. I think Florida can be their tricky game there. Watch out for Florida. Watch out for OU. And then A&M and Georgia are going to be their games that they need to really concern about, I think, as well. So I think Texas will finish number 1. I think they will get over some of the humps, and I think they will finish number 1 in the SEC conference standing projections, and I think they will go to Atlanta due to how well built their roster is. So number 1 is Texas on our list. Texas versus LSU in the SEC championship is it. Number 1 and 2, Texas versus LSU in the SEC championship in Atlanta. Who is going to win the SEC championship in Atlanta? Who do I have winning the SEC championship? I have Texas beating LSU in the SEC championship. Texas defeating LSU in the SEC championship by a score of 31-28. Texas 31, LSU 28. I think Texas defeats LSU, wins the SEC championship in Atlanta, and goes on to the college football playoff. I still think, despite losing, LSU should make the college football playoff, despite losing. But I think Texas defeats them in Atlanta and wins the SEC championship in Atlanta and goes on to the college football playoff. I just think Texas is loaded. They're too good. The depth is there. I think Texas has got it. Texas 31-28 over LSU. Texas finishes number 1 in the conference standing projections and wins the SEC championship according to our conference standing projections. That is our conference standing projections for the SEC and our last round of conference standing projections in the SEC. We will have our full list tomorrow on X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow and like the pages there, and we will see that tomorrow. Y'all will see that tomorrow on Wednesday on X and Instagram. Notifications on for both Instagram and X. Guys, we are out of time. Big thank you for taking some time out of your Tuesday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage and some conference standing projections coverage presented by me. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, all you got to do is just share around with others and follow on there as well. X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow the pages there. You're going to get episode updates, news and highlights from across college football, trivia questions on Instagram stories, going to answer today's college football question, as well as all of them to date for Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, thank you for tuning in. The website's www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Thank you for tuning in each and every Tuesday and Thursday. We will be back Thursday. And Thursday, we will talk about a lot of people, because I was trying to hold it off for as long as I can, but we're going to talk about it Thursday. The future of the college football playoff, the college football playoff model. Which models are better? The 14-team model or the 16 model? The AQ model, which is 14 teams, or the 5+11, 16-team college football playoff model? Which one do I like better for the future? We're going to talk about the future of the college football playoff. We're going to discuss both models, what it means, and we're going to have an episode on that Thursday, this coming up Thursday, which is July 3rd. So Thursday, do not miss Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, we're in July 4th this weekend. I hope everyone has a great weekend for July 4th ahead. Guys, thank you for tuning in each and every Tuesday and Thursday for Pigskin Frenzy. And we love you all. We cannot do this show without you guys. And most importantly, we couldn't do this show without our Lord Jesus. Guys, we praise him and give him all the glory for giving us the platform to talk about college football. And we are so blessed by him to give us this platform to do this show, guys. And if you want to come to know our Lord and Savior Jesus, it's the best decision you can ever make in your life. Contact me on X and Instagram at Pigskin_Frenzy and on the website, www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Contact info down below, name, email, and question to contact me if you want to come to know Jesus as your Lord and Savior. It's the best decision you can ever make in your life. It's peaceful. It's going to have some hardships, but it's worth it in the end when you're spending eternity with Jesus forever and ever. We praise him, give him all the praise for Pigskin Frenzy, because without him, we would not have the platform to do this show. So we praise him and thank him each and every day and each and every week for doing us Pigskin Frenzy. Guys, we will be back Thursday, and until Thursday's edition of Pigskin Frenzy, I'm Joel Norris signing off. We will see you then. Guys, for everybody out there, please and always, we'll see you Thursday. Stay the course.